Are we focused? Focus, focus, focus. I sounded like a frog. Hi guys, welcome to today's video.
Hi guys, welcome to today's video.
Hi guys, welcome to today's video. So today is Monday here in Los Angeles and I have amazing news. It rained last night. It's like amazing. I've been praying for it and praying for it because it was so hot all summer. So it just feels nice to have some rain and to just smell the rain. And I have my tea here and I decided to have some tea, and I also am very inspired by one of my favorite channels, Pages and Polish. She's just amazing, and if you like tea as much as I do, you will really love her channel. And she also has a lot of amazing book reviews if you like to read. So I'll put a link to her channel. And thank you, Pages and Polish, for your support. You're awesome and I love your videos. So for today's video, I'm going to be doing a review of the Smashbox Double Exposure Palette. And so I've taken it out of the box and it basically looks like this. I love the packaging. I love the shade right here. It's like a peachy color and then it has like silver writing. I know it's so superficial to like packaging, but I think that that's just one of the things that you care about, I guess, when you're shopping for makeup. That's marketing for you. So I've taken it out of the box, and so basically it comes with this little diagram here, which is really cool. So it just gives all sorts of ideas for eye looks depending on your eye shape, and I think that that is really, really cool. And so this diagram is really, really helpful, I think, if you're new to makeup and are trying to figure out how to do your eyeshadow based on your eye shape. So there's that, and then it also came with this full exposure mascara that I'll be trying on. I'm feeling very naked in this moment because I don't have any shadow on or mascara, so I'm dying to get into this palette. So it's a very like durable palette and I like that. So I think that this would be really great for traveling with, just the size of it and everything, and it's like a hard plastic casing, which is really nice. And because you know with some palettes they can be like very cardboard, and this feels like it might have cardboard on the top here, but it's still really solid and it feels just really nice. So inside you have a mirror here, try not to blind you, and you basically get this little sleeve here that has all of the names of the shades on it. They basically claim that this palette can be used both wet and dry, which in my opinion, I think most shadows can be used wet and dry. So they say that some of the shades either turn metallic or their vibrancy gets amped up or the shade gets deeper when water is added to it. So they kind of have been helpful and put one of those three things that happens to the shade when water is added onto each shade. So for instance, the shimmer shade turns metallic, the satin shade turns metallic, the shimmer pink shade here amps up the vibrancy when water is added. So what I'm going to be doing is showing you on one eye how the shadow will apply dry, and then on the other eye I'm going to show you how it will apply wet, and then I'll do a full swatching of the shadows wet and a swatching of the shadows dry in up close shots so that you can see both of those. And so I'm very excited. I just love the shade selection in here. I feel like you get a really great variety of shades, and I just feel like these are perfect for fall. And so I'm really excited to try this out. And inside here we have the brush, which is this double-sided brush. I took the plastic off it for ease of doing this review. And so it's a double-ended brush, and it looks like the bottom is like a smudger type thing, or maybe you can, you know, apply the shadow to the lid with it. And then this one here is like an angled brush. Okay, you guys, so little Maple wants to help with swatches. Oh, honey. So we are going to swatch. So I'm going to put the dry shades on my right arm and the wet shades on my left arm. And so that this video isn't super long, I'm just going to swatch the shades from left to right, starting with the top and then going left to right on the bottom. So let's go ahead and swatch the top row. She's going to take a nap right there. So I'm going in. They feel super soft and buttery. And for the first swatch, that does not look very vibrant. So let's go over it one more time. I'm not left-handed. Please bear with my left-handed swatches. So those aren't showing up very vibrant at all. They don't look patchy or anything like that. They just are not very pigmented. So let's go with the next three. So this one here shows up really nicely, the Blanc one. And this peachy one, you can hardly see it. And then this one is a really pretty rose metallic that, let's go over it one more time and see how it looks. Yeah, that peachy one is not showing up at all, really. That's unfortunate because it's a really beautiful shade. And then the last shade, and that's not very bright either. It's a very light shade. And then let's go along the bottom, starting from the left to the right. I need, what do I need? Okay, so from left to right, so that's the first application. Let's go over it one more time. It's rather disappointing. I think if they're going to apply, they need to be pigmented if you go over them at least twice. I mean, you would think that after going over it twice that they would show up very vibrant, and they're not doing that. So that's a bummer. Let's go ahead and go with the next three. So go in right here. Those are a little bit better, but still, I kind of wish that they were a little bit more pigmented for dry shadows. And then the last shade, it's a matte shade. Are you snoring, honey? She's very sleepy. She's snoring. Yeah, so let me go ahead and tell you how many matte shades there are. So there are three matte shades in this palette, and these are the dry swatches of them all. And that's a little bit disappointing. They just, I feel like you can find drugstore shadows that are more pigmented than this. Okay, so now I'm going to do a wet swatch of all the shades onto my left arm so that we can look at them as compared to the swatches on my right arm. And I'm just going to dampen my fingers with my rose water. And I'm going to go at the top row from left to right. And that's not very vibrant at all. Let's go back in. Wow, that's kind of disappointing. So I'm going to spray my fingers again. And now I'm going to go into, let's move my bracelets down. I'm going to go into the next 3 shades. Spray my fingers again, go back in, I don't know, you guys. I mean, they're definitely more vibrant on the left arm, swatched wet, than they are dry, but I was just hoping that they would be a little bit more vibrant. Yes, are you watching? And then the last shade. I mean, I can hardly even pick up any color and my finger is wet. That like does nothing. Wow. That is disappointing. Okay, so let's go ahead and go into the bottom shades from left to right. Are you helping, honey? Oh, what is it? And that's still not very vibrant. I'm going to spritz one more time. Okay, I'm just going to clean my fingers off really quick. Now I'm going to go into the next 3 shades here. There's really not that much of a difference. I mean, you can tell that they're a little bit more vibrant on the wet side, which is this arm here that's moving, this one. And I just was thinking that it was going to be very vibrant, and that is not the case. So I'm going to go into the very last shade now, which is this shade here. And that is applied wet versus dry. So I'll go ahead and take a photo of it as well. And so I'm feeling very bare on my eyes, so why don't we go ahead and get started. And I'm going to add some primer first, but before I do that, I'm going to zoom you guys in. Are we zoomed? Am I close enough? Can you guys see the insides of my pores? So I wanted to just let you know before I get started here that the palette also has the shade names on the back, which I think is really helpful if you want to do like tutorials with this palette. So that's great. And so why don't we go ahead and get started? I don't know really what I want to do for this look, so we're just gonna kind of go with it and see what happens. And so to wet my shadows, I'll be using my Pearlescence Rose Water. I don't know if you can see that. Let me just check. Yeah, I'll be using my Pearlescence Rose Water to dampen my brush. So I'm going to be using my NYC 24-hour primer to prime my lids. And I'm just using my finger And speaking of pages and polish, I really need to polish my nails. So I had a casting earlier today, and so I took off the mascara and primer that I had on, and so now I'm doing it again. And I'm going to just blend that in a little bit using my Wet n Wild brush. Okay, and so I think I'm going to start with, see, I feel like I can't use this brush for the first shadow. I feel like I need to use a blending brush to get the first layer down. So I'm going to use that same brush, the Wet n Wild brush, and I'm going to go into this cream shade here. It's called Silver. No, it's not called Silver. It's called Veiled. I was reading it backwards. It's called Veiled. So let's go ahead and just put a wash of that on this eye. And I think I'm going to go with this really beautiful shade here. It's this like taupey purple shade, and it is called Haze. Wow, that applies really great. Can you guys see? It really adheres to the primer really well. So I'm just wanting to lay this down, and then I'm going to use my Wet n Wild brush to blend, because this brush, either end is not really suitable for blending, I don't think. So let's go ahead and blend that in. So let's go ahead and add just a little bit more of that color, because it's a really pretty shade. I think I'm gonna do like a smoky eye and have this be the haze behind the smoke. So I'm just adding a little bit more, and now I'm just gonna blend. I really like the texture of this shadow. It's really pretty. Let's see. I want to do, I think, a maroon smoky eye. So I'm going to use this shade here called Fig. It's like a maroony shade. And I'm taking this pretty high up. And now I'm just going to blend. And I think I'm going to add this other maroony shade in this palette called Copper. It's a maroony shade, but it looks like it has some just slight shimmer in it. It looks really, really pretty. So I'm going to add that just right here. Just gonna blend. So I'm gonna use the real, it looks like real hair end of this brush. It's the angled brush, and the shade I'm going to use for my brow bone, it's going to be this pink shade here, and it's called Peony. So I'm just taking that up here. For a bit of a highlight, and then is what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this white shade here called Blanc, and I'm just going to use the same end of the brush and just put it on my inner corners. Okay, you guys, one thing I did not do was add liner, so before I start the other eye, I'm going to simply just add some liner, and I'm going to go ahead and use the angled brush that came with the palette, and I'm going to go into the shade, let's see, kind of, so I forgot to mention to you that the Fig shade looks like it is a matte. Yeah, it's a matte. So I'm curious to see how a matte is going to look wet on the eye. So I'm going to add the Fig as the liner. So I'm just blending that in. Alright, so I'm going to use this side here that the shader brush that I used, and I'm just going to smudge that. I feel like it's a softer side of the brush. I don't know how I feel about that angled brush. I'm not really digging it. But I do like the shader brush. So, okay, so let's go ahead and apply these wet now. So I'm going into Haze, and I'm going to wet the brush. Here I'm wetting the synthetic part of the brush with my rose water. Just a light spritzing. And I have to have my blending brush on hand fast because I feel like when you wet shadows that you should really get them blended in quickly. So, because you don't want them to dry up on you and then get patchy. So let's go ahead and go into the Haze. Wow. That is really pretty. Like, you really gotta work fast when you wet your shadows. So I'm just gonna go into like little sections, and where I lay it down, just blend and then go back on top of it. I really like how it blends in wet. I feel like to get that look took me several applications of applying it dry to achieve this same look. So this is a very quick way to get color fast. So I think this is to set this palette apart from just basic shadows that can be applied wet. They say, don't worry about getting your shadows wet. They'll never glaze over and will always dry like new. Because sometimes shadows, if you apply them wet, they can get like a little bit of a weird glaze over them. And so they're saying that these shadows don't do that when applied wet. So I think that's really cool if that is the case. So let's go ahead and go into that haze shade one more time and just intensify it a little bit. I also think when you're doing wet shadows that sometimes you can get more pigmentation if you do use your finger. Thank you, Noni, for suggesting that in my last video. I really think that that helps to make them a little bit more intensified if that's what you want. Okay. I really like this shade. It's it just has a very satiny look to it, but from afar it looks matte. Does it look matte to you guys? Because from afar it looks matte to me. And I like that. I like that when you get close you can see just a teeny tiny bit of satinness to it. Okay, so now let's go into Fig. Just gonna wet my brush one more time. Am I still in frame? I feel like I can't move. Okay. Am I rolling? That would not have been cool if I wasn't rolling. Okay. Let's attempt Fig. Now Fig is the matte shade, so let's hope for the best. Again, quickly just laying it down and blending, because I feel like matte shades, even if it's not this palette, matte shades can just be very difficult to wear wet because they do get patchy and streaky. So this shadow actually didn't do that for me. It didn't get crazy like I thought it would. So from some of the reviews that I watched and read, applying the matte shade matte didn't work for a lot of people, but it seems to be working for this look. So maybe it's just a matter of what you lay down underneath the matte shade to be able to wear it as a wet shade. So I do have primer on, and I did, you guys, I forgot to lay down the cream shade. I am such a dork. I'm so sorry. So this is without the cream shade underneath. Oops. But either way, there was primer underneath and it's still blending really nicely even without that cream shade underneath, so whatever. You can still see how it's applying. And it does seem to be looking just a little bit more. I'm also blending a lot because I don't want it to be too like loud on my eye, but it does look to be just a little bit deeper in shade than this eye over here. So let's go ahead but I love how it looks. Like, it just looks like such quality shadow on the eye, both wet or dry. So now I'm gonna go into that really pretty copper shade. I'm just gonna wet the brush one more time. This is a metallic shade, so what are you? No, I'm sorry, it's a shimmer shade and it's supposed to turn metallic according to the diagram. So again, I'm using the flat part of the brush. Oh, how pretty. And I went with the shimmer shade, like just for the area, like my mobile lid, just to give it some oomph in the shine department. I'm just going to blend over that. I think when you're working with wet shadows, it's really important to use a synthetic brush, because real hair brushes just don't work out wet, and it can ruin the brushes as well. So it's always best to use a synthetic brush when using wet shadows. And I'm just gonna apply the liner part. Sorry guys, I'm gonna apply the liner dry because I don't really want a wet line. I kind of like the look of like an intense eye and then not so intense under the eye. Since it's during the day, I don't want to have like a really dark smoky eye underneath the eye. So I think keeping it smoky on the top and dry on the bottom and very smudged out is wearable for during the day. And then I'm also going to put like a cream color on my lash, or excuse me, on my waterline. So I'm going to use I want to see what this shade looks like wet. So I'm going to go into the Blanc shimmery shade and spritz brush. I'm just using the angle, and I'm going into the like white shimmer just to add to the corners of my eyes. Wow, that's way brighter. What? So now I'm taking the peony shade here, and I've wet my brush and I've dipped it into the peony shade, and I'm just going to apply it to my brow bone. Yeah, that seems a lot more sheeny on the eye when applied wet, which I think is a given if you're using wet shadows. I think it's gonna do that. I don't know if you guys can tell, but this eye looks to be a little bit darker, not much. So I might intensify it for you guys just to see if we can get it really, really intense. So I'm gonna add the kind of like royal looking blue. It's called Midnight, and it has some blue sparkle in it too. So I'm just gonna add that. Ooh. It looks really nice mixed in with that coppery shade. Like the blue sparkle with the copper sparkle is really beautiful. Okay, so let's get this blended really quick like. I love the look of that. What do you guys think? So it's like a purple plummy eye. And then is what I'm gonna do is I'm going to use that same Midnight shade dry on this eye and see how that looks. And I'm gonna use, because this brush is wet, I'm gonna use a different brush to apply that with. And I'm just gonna use this dirty Wet n Wild synthetic brush and just go right on in. Let's go over here. I feel like the blue on this eye is just slightly more intense. It's not that big of a difference, but I think that if you were to keep layering, you could get the desired build of vibrancy just by continuing to wet your brush. So I don't doubt that you can't get intense colors with this palette. So now I'm going to review this mascara. First, I'm going to curl my lashes. So this is a sample size, or travel size, I guess, full exposure mascara. I've never used the Smashbox mascara in my life, I don't think. So I'm curious to see how this is going to work. Whoa, it's a pretty big brush. Look at that. It's like a Christmas tree shape. I didn't really get much mascara on the lashes on the first couple tries. I feel like this is just one of those mascaras that might take you 10 minutes to get your lashes on. It's just not very... Do you guys see that? It's just not... It's just not wanting to coat the lashes very well. It works. I'm just very finicky with mascara. The look I'm getting on my lashes now is the look I should have gotten on the very first application. And it's still not even close to what I want my mascara to be. I feel like I have to just keep going in and keep going in and just applying over and over and over to get the lash look. I don't know, you guys. I'm not really feeling this mascara. I'm gonna just use my Rimmel cream color or nude color for the waterline. So this is the wet eye. This is the dry eye. I really love the quality of the shadows. They blend like Okay, you guys, so it's been about 6 hours since I applied the Smashbox double exposure palette on my eyes, and I wanted to show you how it's looking at the 6th hour. And so this is the eye that was applied wet, and this is the eye that was applied dry. So let's go ahead and zoom in. And I'm going to focus. So it looks to be doing really good to me. It doesn't look like it's creased at all, which is really good. And let's make sure I'm back in focus here. And this eye is still looking a bit darker than this eye. But I just wanted to see how the shadows wear throughout the day, and I couldn't be more happy with how it's looking right now at the 6th hour and all. So yeah, I'm loving this palette, and I just wish that the double exposure palette was just a little bit more pigmented in the swatches, but the shadows are really great and they're great quality as well. One thing I wanted to mention about them is that they seem just super silky and smooth and really just make your whole eye area look very like airbrushed. Are we in focus? Even though the swatches didn't turn out that great, wet and dry, I do think that they're good quality. I think that it's just a matter of having a good primer and building them up. So in that regard, I do recommend this palette. But if you're wanting really bright pigmented swatches right off the bat, you're not going to get that from this palette, as you saw in the swatches. But it is buildable both dry, and it's also buildable wet. I think the trick for doing it wet is to not saturate your brush. You really want to just have just a light dampness to the brush before you apply it wet. And like their claim said, I don't notice any weird glaze with the wet eyeshadow on this eye at all. It looks just as great of quality as the dry side, just a little bit brighter. And so yeah, that is my 6-hour check-in. I have seen drugstore eyeshadows swatch better than these shadows, but these are still good shadows and they're still, the textures are still really beautiful. I think that to really get the amplified look, you will need a primer, and you will also need to layer the shadows. If you want to do the wet, vibrant look, you'll need to layer it a few times with water or a facial mist to get a really vibrant look. But the shadows themselves are very beautiful and I will use them. And I have a feeling I'll use them a lot because they're all shades that I wear frequently. So I really think I'll get a lot of use out of this. I just wasn't really a fan of this brush either. I think I'll use it, but I won't use this angled side very much. It's just a little stiff for me. And I did like this end though. It's a synthetic brush and it works really nice. And it worked really nice for me for wet and dry shadows. So I'll use this brush. I just probably won't use this end. And the mascara, I've used better mascaras. My Pacifica mascara is far better than this. And, but I'll use this. I'll throw it in like my travel bag or something. But yeah, again, you just have to work hard to get this mascara to work. So that is my review on the Double Exposure Smashbox palette. If you guys have any questions about it, please be sure to leave those for me in the comment box below. And I hope you guys like this eye look. I had a lot of fun putting it together, and I'm really sorry that I forgot to put the one like all over light eye shade. But obviously, according to the swatches, it wouldn't have made much of a difference anyways because you couldn't even see the color. I'll tell you what shade it was. It was Veiled. You couldn't even see Veiled in my swatches, so I don't think it was too big of a deal that I forgot to put that one underneath this eye look. But yeah, so I'll be doing some more palette reviews and that sort of thing. It's really fun to like go through and test all these eye palettes and things so that I can figure out what works good in a photo and what doesn't. And so I have so much fun doing that. The Noir shade, the black one, was really nice. I think that'll be a really nice liner. And that's another thing I want to mention about this is that if you like shadows for liners, I think that this would be perfect because you can build up the line. So you can build up the desired vibrancy of the eyeline that you want to do. And I can even see you adding some of these shades to waterline shades to just kind of get the waterline to stay for a lot longer throughout the days. So yeah, that's going to wrap things up for this review. If you have any questions about the palette, please do leave those for me in the comment box below and I'd be happy to answer them for you. And if you guys enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to the new subscribers that have joined my channel and for the comments that you have left on my last few videos. Thank you guys so much for that. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!